At my son's 12th birthday party in Silver Lake, my sister Mackenzie Thompson yanked Carter's face straight into his custom Hollywood sign cake. 1 second, he was beaming with pride over those blinking LED letters. The next, neon frosting and tiny circuit wires smeared across his forehead, and Kenzie was throwing her head back in genuine laughter. I'd warned her twice, warned her that Carter's special day was off limits, but she treated it like her personal photo shoot. The crack of that cake board hitting the backyard patio still rings in my ears, and I saw neighbors 3 houses down pause mid-gossip at the food truck. In that split second, I understood something fundamental. This wasn't a harmless prank. It was a deliberate act of cruelty, and with Carter's stunned, tear-filled eyes staring back at me, I knew nothing would ever be the same for our family. I'm Oliver Ollie Thompson, 36, and I run a small electrical contracting business specializing in film and music video sets around Silver Lake and Hollywood. After 4 years in the Navy working on aircraft carrier wiring, I used my GI Bill to earn a C-10 electrician's license through LA Trade Tech. I pride myself on solving complex lighting rigs that other crews won't touch, running power to drone-mounted cameras, setting up LED walls for indie features, rewiring vintage studio fixtures you'd swear were still from the 1920s. My steady $95K salary doesn't buy the flashiest lifestyle in West Hollywood, but it's honest work that built my reputation as the guy who doesn't freak out when a cable catches fire. My wife, Samantha Sam Thompson, is 34 and one of Cedars-Sinai's top trauma nurses. She's the kind of woman who can calm a gunshot victim in 1 minute and coach me through a blender of scraped-up wiring diagrams the next. Our son Carter, everyone calls him Art, because of his artful coding and robotics projects, just turned 12 and already won first prize at a teen hackathon hosted by Caltech. While other kids collect baseball cards, he programs drones to map playgrounds. He dreamed up this Hollywood sign cake months ago, sketching the LED patterns on graph paper. His only request was that it light up every time he blew out a candle. Then there's my sister Mackenzie, 26, a micro-influencer with 38,000 combined TikTok and Instagram followers. She lives rent-free in a 1-bedroom at the Elysee, complete with 24-hour concierge, rooftop co-working space, yoga studio, and infinity pool courtesy of Dad. She cruises around in a matte white Tesla Model Y, performance, posts unboxing videos from Gucci and Chanel pop-ups on Melrose, and treats brunch at Republique like a board meeting complete with ring light and hollow filter selfies. If it costs Dad more than a tank of gas, she's already got it on her wish list. Our father, Frankie Thompson, 58, owns a Beverly Hills renovation company that flips mansions faster than you can say off-market deal. He's spent 20 years building his brand, wearing crisp polos and driving a tricked-out Land Cruiser between job sites. But his real weakness is Kenzie. After Mom died in a car accident when Kenzie was 8, Frank made it his life's mission to never deny her a thing: new car, private yoga retreats in Palm Springs, a $2,800 3-night girls' trip villa with pool parties and spa day subscriptions. He's convinced that money can fill the hole left by her mother's absence, and in doing so, he's created a child who believes the world owes her every spotlight. My stepmom, Lindsay Thompson, 61, works part-time at Smile Bar, a Rodeo Drive dental spa, and watches all this unfold in silence. She'll roll her eyes with me over overpriced tooth whitening posts, but when we're around Dad, she stays quiet, worried she might tip the balance of his fragile guilt. The real authority in our clan is Grandma Beatrice B. Thompson, 79, a former structural engineer who helped design the U.S. Bank Tower downtown. She owns a penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton Residences and volunteers on the board of the LA Children's Museum. You don't dare disrespect her, and you sure as hell don't humiliate a kid in front of her. 6 months before Carter's party, we had a 4th of July block party on Sunset Boulevard. Food trucks lined the street. La Vida Loca's birria tacos, artisanal vegan popsicles, and Art showed his drone demo under a string of Edison bulbs. Everything was perfect until it was time to cut Dad's birthday cake. Out of nowhere, Kenzie charged the table like she was on stage at a red carpet premiere and body-checked Frank's vanilla layer with such force it splattered onto my shirt. She cackled, Dad doubled over, and the neighbors thought it was part of the show. But when Art saw me wiped with frosting, he went pale, terrified that if she could do that to me, she'd do it to him next. That night, I called her around 8. Kenzie, listen, what you did today was way over the line. Carter's birthday is off limits. Her laugh through the phone was cold, dripping with condescension. Chill, Ollie. It's just a joke. Kids need to learn to take a joke. She hung up before I could finish. I should have uninvited her right then, saved us all the horror. But I thought she wouldn't dare ruin a child's dream cake after I warned her. In that moment, I underestimated her cruelty, and the day we finally let her near Carter's Hollywood sign masterpiece, I'd learned just how far she was willing to go. The sun was sinking behind the Silver Lake Hills, and as I stepped onto the patio to inspect the cake wiring one last time, I noticed something odd. A single red stiletto heel print pressed into the lawn inches from the setup. My heart froze. Kenzie was here already. What she did next would change our lives forever. The click of Kenzie's stiletto heels on the concrete felt like a starting gun. She swept into the yard wearing a neon pink crop top, high-waisted leather shorts, and a ring light clipped to her phone every inch of her practically screaming, "Look at me." The solar-powered cake lights flickered behind her, but she didn't notice. Her eyes were on me, smug, as if she'd already won. I felt my chest tighten, an electric surge thicker than any voltage I'd ever handled. Around us, the kids paused their coding stations, turning toward her like moths to a flame. The DJ, one of Carter's classmates, fiddled with his mixer, uncertain whether to drop the beat or move aside. My jaw clenched. She was poised to hijack every moment, and yet I stood frozen, remembering Sam's warning, don't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. Within seconds, her phone was live. "What's up, fam? Auntie Kenzie's in the house for Carter's big day." She flicked her hair, pivoted for the camera, and barked orders. "DJ, lower the bass. I need some light on this cake, it's my backdrop." The young DJ hesitated, then obeyed. Neon LEDs around the cake pulsed awkwardly. Kenzie raised an eyebrow at the wobble. Ugh, so unfiltered. "Hold on!" She tugged one of my custom cables, sending a small sparks of frosting onto the patio. The kids gasped. One girl whimpered, and Carter's smile flickered. Sam shot me a look, half anger, half apology, before scooping Carter closer, shielding him. My knuckles itched to unplug every wire in sight, but I swallowed it down. This was her stage, and every second she stayed was a second she scarred him deeper. By the time it was cake cutting, the party had splintered into 2 camps, the curious onlookers filming Kenzie and a smaller circle around Carter, whispering encouragement. He stood at the table, back straight, eyes bright, as he held the custom switch that lit the Hollywood letters in vibrant white. It was his proudest moment, each letter mapped out in silicone and solder, a symbol of his dream to light up actual sound stages someday. Everyone took a breath and joined in singing Happy Birthday, their voices rising over the whir of drone demos and distant LA traffic. Carter leaned forward to blow out the candle's eyelashes, brushing the frosting. In that fragile instant, I saw hope, a perfect moment, if only it remained untouched. Then Kenzie lunged. She threw her arms around Carter's shoulders and heaved him backward, driving his face straight into the cake. Time-stretched LEDs burst like miniature flashbulbs, frosting sprayed in every direction, and a hot diode panel pressed into his forehead, searing a thin red line. The crack of his cheekbone against the board sounded like a gunshot. Silence fell first, then a strangled cry from Carter as frosting mixed with tears and blood. Mother and son collided in a flurry of arms and sobs. Kenzie yanked back, phone still rolling. "You guys, this is gold," she cooed, breathless with glee. "Wait till you see the slow-mo replay." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Sam was at Carter's side, brushing cake from his eyes. I ripped the ring light from Kenzie's hand, smashing her live stream. Neighbors peered through hedges, phones lowered, mouths slack. And from the lawn chair under the string lights, Grandma B rose, her posture rigid, eyes colder than steel. The world shifted. Gravity tugged at my gut. She straightened her blazer, glanced at the wreckage of cake and circuitry, then fixed Kenzie with a look that snapped the air. "Kenzie," she said, her voice low, but carrying like a cathedral bell. "You've crossed a line." The next word hung in the summer air, heavy as guilt. 3 days after the horror at Carter's party, our house still felt hollow. Every time I passed his closed bedroom door, I heard the soft hum of the nightlight he'd begged me to install, tiny LEDs dancing his favorite pattern, and I remembered how Kenzie snapped those wires apart with her bare hands. Sam spent the morning stroking his hair as he lay curled on the couch, tears crusting the corner of his eyes, and I found myself waking before dawn, unable to shake the image of his face pressed into neon frosting. Our neighbors drifted back to their routines, morning jogs around the lake, pickup basketball games at the rec center. But we were frozen in that moment, trapped by guilt and rage. When I looked at the rearview mirror on my work van, I half expected to see cake specks clinging to my reflection. That Saturday, Grandma B called a mandatory family meeting at her penthouse in the Ritz-Carlton residences. The elevator doors opened to marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown LA's skyline, trading the soft hills of Silver Lake for glass towers and neon signs. Sam held my hand as we stepped inside. Carter clung to his robotics trophy like a talisman. Frank and Lindsay hovered near the entryway, their expressions a mix of defiance and dread. Kenzie arrived last, in crumpled leather shorts. No ring light this time, only the glare of her own uncertainty. The attorney followed behind her briefcase, snapping shut like a verdict. B emerged from her private study wearing a slate gray blazer, heels that clicked authority on the marble, and eyes that saw right through pretense. She sat at the head of a long walnut table, motioning us in. The lawyer placed a thick envelope before her, then opened a file and began reading. Effective immediately, Frank Thompson was removed as a beneficiary of her estate, and Kenzie Thompson faced the same fate unless she met strict conditions. The air thickened. My knuckles whitened on the table's edge. Carter squeezed Sam's hand as the attorney recited percentages: 40% to me, 20 to Sam, 25 to Carter, 15 to Lindsay, and 0 to Frank and Kenzie. Then B spoke, voice low but unyielding. "Kenzie, you have exactly 7 days to write a handwritten apology to your nephew, pay for his medical treatment and therapy with your own funds and present proof. Failing that, you forfeit any claim to this family's legacy." The list continued: 20 volunteer hours per week at Children's Hospital LA, enrollment in a year-long counseling program at the Thomas Psychological Center, complete deletion of all social media accounts, and a public Facebook post acknowledging the cruelty of your stunt. She closed her folder with a snap. "Family doesn't harm children for content," she said, looking squarely at Kenzie. "This is your last chance at redemption." Silence stretched until the hum of the air conditioner felt deafening. Kenzie's perfect manicure hovered above the envelope as if afraid to touch it. Lindsay's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Frank's face went ashen. He sputtered that it was just a cake, but B cut him off. "Your enabling has consequences." Carter's small voice piped up. "Grandma, will Aunt Kenzie be okay?" He looked to me for an answer. I swallowed the knot in my throat and gave him a small, reassuring nod. "She'll learn," I managed. Kenzie finally exhaled, her voice a brittle whisper. This is unfair. You're my grandmother." B's gaze softened for the briefest moment. Family is more than blood. It's respect and care. With that, the meeting adjourned. We filed out past the glass doors into the afternoon glare, each of us carrying a weight that felt heavier than any 5-ton film rig I'd ever installed. Kenzie lingered behind, reading that letter over and over her shoulders, trembling. As I led Carter down the hallway, I heard her phone buzz. She glanced at the screen, an email notification from B's lawyer Will, changes recorded with LA County Clerk effective today. Her breath caught. 7 days. 7 days to choose between her inheritance and her pride. And somewhere in my pocket, my phone buzzed to an article notification about homeowners associations cracking down on commercial activity in residential high-rises. Kenzie's condo at the Elysee came to mind. I glanced back at her silhouette framed by the penthouse's panoramic view. The sunset turned the city gold, mocking in its beauty. Kenzie's reflection in the glass was ghostly, trapped between two worlds, one of luxury with no limits, the other of consequences she'd never known. She hadn't yet reached out to Carter, to Sam, or to me. And as the elevator doors slid shut behind us, I realized this victory was only the beginning for her, for our family, and for the reckoning still to come. Kenzie woke up to the echo of her ring light charging a reminder of the live stream she'd lost. Her condo felt cavernous without the hum of content creation, an empty rooftop co-working desk, a silent infinity pool glinting under the morning sun. She poured a mug of cold brew coffee, but her hands trembled so badly she spilled half on the marble counter. Every fiber in her body buzzed with panic. She owned this space, or at least thought she did. Now it felt like a gilded cage with the lock clicking shut behind her. Her phone buzzed an email from the California Franchise Tax Board. Notification of audit. Your business activity is under review. Response required within 30 days. The words blurred on the screen. She tapped Dad's contact, no answer. Lindsay's number straight to voicemail. Her pulse hammered in her ears, drowning out the birds chirping outside. She'd claimed that condo rent as a business expense for 2 years. Now the FTB wanted receipts, bank statements, proof of income to match those Instagram revenue figures. Kenzie's brain raced. She'd never actually earned that money. Before she could think, another notification from the Elysee HOA. Cease and desist. Commercial activity in residential units. Fine $1,000 per incident. Payment due in 48 hours or face eviction proceedings. She slid down the kitchen island and hugged her knees, staring at the polished floor as if it might swallow her whole. Her inheritance, her lifestyle, her identity, all teetering on an unpaid digital invoice. Desperate, she rifled through her laptop bag for her business bank card and found a hold notice. Funds frozen pending, FTB review. A bolt of dread shot through her. She couldn't pay the HOA fine, couldn't fund Uber to Venice for her next photo shoot, couldn't even order takeout without a hiccup at checkout. She tapped her card against the counter, heard the beep of decline like a judge's gavel. Tears pricked her eyes as she realized Dad's credit card wasn't there to save her this time. She tried one last lifeline, typing a quick apology message to Oliver and Sam in their family group chat. "I'm so sorry. I'll make this right." But instead of blue ticks, she saw, "You cannot send messages to this group." Kenzie's thumbs hovered. Then she slammed the phone down. Silence enveloped her. The only sound was her own ragged breathing and the distant hum of traffic on Sunset Boulevard. Everyone else living their lives as if she hadn't destroyed her nephew's cake, as if her family hadn't upended her entire world. Meanwhile, across town, Oliver and Sam watched the condo's rooftop from their Lyft ride back to Silver Lake. Carter's therapist had cleared him to return home, but the house felt emptier without Grandma B's stern presence. "She's going to follow through," Sam said softly, watching the skyline bleed orange. Oliver's jaw tightened. This is exactly what B intended. No more excuses, no more enabling. He glanced at Carter in the back seat, fiddling with a mini drone, eyes sunken. "We gave her a chance. Now it's time for consequences." At 10 a.m., Kenzie heard a knock at her door. Her stomach lurched and she braced herself. A property manager stood there, crisp suit name badge shining. "Miss Thompson." His tone was polite but final. "Your keycard has been deactivated. You have 24 hours to collect your belongings." He held up a laminated eviction notice, HOA approved, stamped by the board. The polished foyer lights reflected off the glass as if showcasing her defeat. She tried her card anyway. The lock clicked and stayed dark. "I need more time," she stammered. "There must be a mistake." He lowered his eyes sympathetically. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The board's decision is final. After 24 hours, the locks will change and anything left behind will be disposed per policy." He turned on his heel and walked away, leaving the notice on her doormat. Kenzie sank against the door frame, the eviction notice crumpling under her fingers. Her world, once bright and curated, was collapsing like a bad Instagram filter glitch. In the fallout, her followers began to drop. Comments on her apology-less posts turned to criticism. "Privileged brat. Tell us again why we should care." The notifications shifted from likes and hearts to angry red badges. With every ding, her chest tightened, her identity unspooled. She wasn't Kenzie the influencer. She was Kenzie the villain, and no amount of paid partnerships could erase that. She stumbled onto the rooftop to grab some air, but the pool deck was roped off with caution tape, maintenance crews dispatched by HOA to prep for renovations. The water glittered blue-green, mocking her from behind the barrier. She touched the tape and felt tears sting her eyes. Without the pool, without the condo, without Daddy's credit card, where did she even go? Her phone buzzed again, a voicemail from an unknown number. She swiped it open. "This is the CA Department of Public Health. Your spa provider at Smile Bar has been cited for unlicensed procedures. We are scheduled to suspend operations tomorrow. Please contact our office." The words echoed in her mind. First finance, then housing, now her part-time job in a high-end dental spa shuttered by regulators. It was a legal triple threat. She sank to the floor with her back against the safety glass. The LA skyline glowed around her skyscrapers, soaring like monuments, untouchable, imposing. She pressed her palms to her eyes, replaying Carter's tear-streaked face, Grandma B's icy stare. Tomorrow was the deadline for that handwritten apology. But how could she write sincerity when her world was unraveling under the weight of bills, fines, and legal judgments? Her pride screamed she'd never beg. Her fear whispered she had no choice. She wiped her cheeks and stood shoulders squared. If she had 24 hours and 7 days to save herself, she'd need every minute. She pushed past the caution tape and swiped her building fob at the stairwell door. No beep, no click. It was locked tight. Then a voice crackled over the intercom. "Ms. Thompson, please exit at the lobby level. Any unauthorized access will be treated as trespassing." The intercom's drip of authority felt like the final blow. Clutching the eviction notice and her phone, Kenzie realized she was completely cut off from the life she'd built. And as the intercom clicked off, the lobby lights dimmed, leaving her alone in a silent foyer of marble and glass, her empire stripped away. She pressed her back to the wall, heartbeat hammering. What would she sacrifice next to keep even a sliver of this world? And more importantly, would any of it ever feel worth it again? Kenzie's first shift at Nordstrom started with the metallic click of her name tag, Kenzie T. She slipped into the navy blue vest, her uniform now not a fashion statement, and braced herself under the fluorescent glare of the cosmetics counter. Every time she rang up a perfume tester or scanned a designer scarf, her thumb hovered over the touchscreen like it might betray her. She made $16 an hour, which barely covered the $75 deposit Carter's therapist required before his first appointment. That morning, she handed over her first paycheck in crumpled 20s, listening to the register's ding like a verdict. Her childhood bedroom at her parents' bungalow in Sherman Oaks felt smaller than ever. A thrift store dresser, a twin bed topped with dusty throw pillows, a single-framed Instagram photo of her now-ruined influencer days staring back. She spent her breaks scrolling through old followers' comments, once affectionate hearts now replaced by angry emojis and "Bye Felicia" gifs, trying not to flinch each time her screen flashed red with unfollow notifications. After work, she walked the 3 blocks to Children's Hospital LA for her volunteer orientation. A clip-on badge, HIPAA training slides that droned on about patient privacy and a promise of 20 hours per week handing out juice boxes to pediatric wards. Scheduling conflicts with her Nordstrom shifts loomed, but she juggled her phone calendar until every slot was filled. No more brunches at République or rooftop photo shoots, just aisle lights and sterile hallways. Back home, she found her parents at the kitchen table, Lindsay flipping through glossy magazine spreads, Frank scrolling stock charts on his phone. They didn't look up as she dropped her keys and slumped into the chipped chair. "We can't keep doing this," Lindsay murmured. Frank's jaw clenched around a sip of iced tea. Kenzie closed her eyes, remembering Grandma B's terms: apology letter therapy, payment, volunteer hours, delete social media, year-long counseling. 5 conditions, 7 days. She opened her palm to check the eviction notice. One more time, 24 hours to vacate. Her phone vibrated. Ollie Lindsay's quavering voice filtered in. Kenzie's stomach knotted. "She's asking for you," Lindsay said softly, handing the phone across the table. Kenzie's fingers shook as she pressed speaker. On the other end, Oliver Thompson's calm voice quivered with restraint. "Linz, Ollie, please," Lindsay sobbed before she could stop herself. "I know you hate to ask, but Frank's in trouble. The FTB audit could sink his business. He's at risk of losing everything." Oliver's grip on the countertop tightened. The wood groaned, underlined by his anger. "He enabled me," Kenzie mouthed, voice cracking. "He defended me when I hurt Carter." Sam's silhouette appeared behind Oliver in the clinic window, her arms folded, eyes sharp. "I know," Oliver said into the phone. "But I'm his son, Kenzie. I've got to do something." Lindsay sniffed. "Can you talk to Grandma B? Maybe convince her to ease up just a little." Oliver exhaled like a storm breaking. "I'll try." He hung up, and the house settled into a brittle quiet, brothers and sisters of fate caught between loyalty and justice. That night, as Kenzie stared at the volunteer badge on her kitchen table, her phone lit up again. "Dad," she hesitated, thumb hovering before tapping answer. Frank's voice came through ragged as a late-night radio confession. "Kenzie, I messed up. I see that now. Your college fund's gone, the condo's gone, my business is in jeopardy. I'm begging you, baby girl, please let Ollie talk to your grandmother." The title baby girl twisted in her chest. She blinked away tears, the fluorescent kitchen light stinging her eyes. I'll do anything," she whispered. Frank sobbed softly. "You've got to keep your word. Write that letter. Do the volunteer work. Delete your accounts. Show her you're serious." Kenzie's thumb traced the countertop grain as if it could carve a new path. She ended the call and sank to the floor, knees drawn to her chin, listening to the distant hum of the 405 freeway. The house was silent, but for her ragged breaths and the $1,000 digital frame on the mantel, an empty slideshow awaiting her next post. 7 days to prove she'd changed. 7 days to salvage her life. 7 days before her grandmother's will took effect. And in the dark, Kenzie realized she'd done nothing yet. The calendar on her wall glowed under a single nightlight bulb, just one square left before the deadline. Her reflection in the glass looked back hollow, a ghost of the influencer she once was, and she had to decide: fight for forgiveness or accept that her family had finally left her behind. As the clock ticked toward dawn, her phone buzzed one more time, unknown number. With trembling fingers, she swiped to answer. Kenzie pressed her trembling fingers to the cold brass handle of Grandma B's front door at the Ritz penthouse, heart hammering like the wrecked LEDs from Carter's cake. In her other hand, the handwritten apology looping letters on recycled stationery felt like the last lifeline she had. Inside the foyer's marble floors gleamed under a crystal chandelier, a silent testament to B's lifetime of triumphs. Kenzie's throat tightened as she swallowed hard and stepped in the door, clicking shut behind her with finality. She tried to steady her breath, but felt dizzy, the weight of 7 days collapsing into this moment. B sat behind her walnut desk, the same one where she'd stripped Frank and Kenzie of any claim to her estate. Her posture was regal in a tailored suit. Her eyes measured Kenzie like a structural load-bearing pillar, steady, unyielding. The lawyer lingered by the doorway, arms crossed, watching. Kenzie forced out a quavering, "Grandma, I'm so sorry for what I did to Carter. That day I lost control. I know words can't undo the pain, but I've paid for his therapy, volunteered hours at the hospital, even deleted my accounts. I need a chance to prove I've changed." Her voice broke, tears gathering as she pressed the letter across the desk. Bee's gaze flicked to the envelope, then back to Kenzie. For a heartbeat, the silence was absolute, so thick it seemed to hum like an overloaded transformer. Then Bee spoke calm and precise. "I received your letter this morning, but your letter isn't the only thing I received." She tapped a folder closed. "I've amended my will again. Your share has been redirected 20% now funds. Carter's College Trust 20% to the Children's STEM Foundation and the rest to Sam's Emergency Relief Fund at Cedars-Sinai." Kenzie's mouth fell open. The apology fluttered to the floor like a wounded bird. The room tilted. You're sure," she whispered. Bee's lips curved in something that felt like pity. "I'm sure. Family means responsibility. Kenzie, not entitlement." She rose and extended a hand. "You may leave." Kenzie stumbled backward, heart pounding as though she'd been dropped from a soundstage crane. She scooped up the letter, scrunching it in her fist, then fled down the hallway past portraits of Bee at work on the U.S. Bank Tower blueprint, past gleaming windows that framed a pristine LA skyline, mocking her loss. The elevator doors shut before she could reach them, so she raced the grand staircase 2 flights down, her heels echoing like a countdown to her final days of freedom. Outside, sunlight blinded her. She counted 4 steps to the valet booth only to find it deserted, a single valet cart parked. Her eyes flicked down to her phone, a text from property management. "Your rental period has ended. Access to the LEC revoked. Please vacate within 12 hours. The single flaming red hourglass emoji burned on the screen. She buried her face in her hands back to the valet stand and let the city noise wash over her horns. A distant siren, the hum of traffic on Sunset. Her world had narrowed to 3 grim certainties: no inheritance, no condo, no social media. As she pressed through the pedestrian doors, a new alert buzzed. "FTB notice, your father's construction company account has been frozen. Pending lien, $45,000. Kenzie's knees buckled and she gripped the glass door frame. Her father's legacy, built brick by brick, was crumbling. If that lien held, Frank would default on payroll supplier contracts, probably lose his business license. Carter's College Trust now safe, but the family's stability was slipping through her fingers like sand. She forced herself to walk, kicking at a discarded coffee cup on the sidewalk. 3 blocks to the Children's Hospital for her next volunteer shift, but would they still let her in? Would Carter even forgive her? Before she reached the corner, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She spun around to see Tyler Nguyen. Her brother-in-arms, ex-Navy SEAL, turned private investigator eyes, intense but sympathetic. He slipped an envelope into her hand. "Kenzie, I'm sorry." His voice was low, urgent. "This just came in from my sources at the LA County Assessor's Office. She pried it open, eviction notice for Frank's company headquarters, scheduled for auction within 48 hours. The stamped seal looked official enough to give her nightmares. She folded the paper, breath catching. "Tyler." Why, he shrugged, gaze heavy. "You know me, I only tip the scales when people won't learn otherwise." His shoulders slumped. "But you need to see this. Your cousin's home, Sam's clinic, none of it is safe from fallout if these liens go through." He turned to leave, but paused. "I tried talking to Bee, didn't help." Kenzie's vision blurred. She tucked the eviction notice into her bag. "What am I supposed to do now?" she whispered. Tyler's face softened. "Keep your word. Finish your shift. Show them you mean it." He patted her shoulder and vanished into the crowd like a ghost. Kenzie stood alone as the crosswalk signal blinked, "Walk." She forced herself to step into traffic next to a mother pushing a stroller, a man in a suit scrolling on his phone, a teenager blasting music on earbuds. Every step felt surreal, like walking through a dream that was turning into a nightmare with no exit. She reached the hospital's sliding glass doors, her badge still clipped to her belt. Inside, the antiseptic smell hit her clean and sharp, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. She signed in with shaky hands and headed to Ward D, where she'd promised to help with arts and crafts for the pediatric oncology floor. The room was brightened by colorful banners and hand-drawn get-well cards. A cluster of children sat at low tables painting models of spaceships and rainbows. When she knelt to help a little girl mix glitter glue, the child looked up with big, trusting eyes. "Are you Auntie Kenzie?" she asked softly. Kenzie froze. Was every child going to know who she was? She forced a smile, voice soft. "That's just a nickname. I'm here to help you paint." The girl nodded, turned back to her craft. Kenzie dabbed glue onto silver cardstock, her hands steadying as she realized this was the first time someone needed her for something good, not for likes or unboxings. Her shift passed in a blur of small victories, a boy's Lego rocket pieced together a teen's tearful hug when Kenzie read her drawing aloud. But halfway through, through her phone buzzed again, sheriff's notice repossession, scheduled for Tesla Model Y performance 24-hour notice. The hospital walls seemed to close in. She excused herself to the hallway and slid down against a vending machine, breathing hard. The phone's green Tesla logo glowed mockingly. She'd lost her condo, her dad's business was under siege, her car was about to be towed, and here she was, elbow deep in glitter glue painting happiness for sick kids who had no home or wheels to lose. Tears fell silently. She slid a hand beneath her vest to clutch her volunteer badge like a lifeline. "Keep your word." Tyler's words echoed. She exhaled, shaking her head. She had one day left to vacate the condo, one to finish her apology, one to save her dad's business from foreclosure, one to stop the repossession, one to decide whether any of this redemption was worth the price. Behind her, the curtain fluttered. It was Carter clutching his robotics trophy and Sam's hand. His eyes, once haunted, held something else, now tentative, forgiveness, maybe even hope. He peered at her uniform, at the smeared glitter on her glove, then at the eviction notice tucked in her back pocket. "Aunt Kenzie," he whispered. Her breath caught. She righted herself, heart pounding like a drum, and reached out a trembling hand. But before her fingertips brushed his, the intercom buzzed code green in Ward D. Immediately to the central nurse's station. The call crackled through the hallway, urgent, something had gone wrong. Carter blinked. Sam stiffened, and Kenzie felt her world tilt again. Whatever happened next could undo everything. The intercom's urgent crackle sent my pulse through the roof, code green in Ward D Central Station immediately. Carter's small hand tightened on mine as I dropped my volunteer clipboard and sprinted down the hall past rooms where children's laughter still shimmered against the antiseptic walls. Sam was already there, bending over a stretcher with nurses hovering. Carter lay strapped in pale under the fluorescent lights, his breathing ragged. My breath caught in my throat as I slid into the circle of frantic faces. Sam caught my eye for a split second, desperation and relief tangled in her gaze, and I knew there was no room for hesitation. The portable cardiac monitor was flatlining. Without thinking, I ducked under the IV stand, found the power cord from the backup battery unit, and yanked it free. The nurse barked, "Ollie, careful," but I'd done this 1,000 times on film sets improvise or the scene dies. I jammed the cord into my volunteer badge slot, an impromptu fuse block, and the monitor flickered back to life. A collective sigh rippled through the team as Carter's chest lifted again, weak but alive. Nurse Ramirez pressed her hand to mine. "Thank you," she whispered, voice cracking. I managed a tight nod, chest heaving with adrenaline. Sam leaned over Carter, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead. "He's stable now," she said, voice soft but strong. I glanced at Carter's robotics trophy on the side table. Silver wings catching the LED strip light, and felt something shift in me. All the hours at Nordstrom. The shaky apology letters, the Medicaid forms, I'd earned this moment. Redemption wasn't about one act. It was about proving day after day that I could choose kindness over clicks. As Carter was wheeled toward intensive care for observation, Oliver slipped in beside me, face grim but proud. He laid a hand on my shoulder. "You saved him," he said quietly. The weight of those words pressed into me harder than any eviction notice. I nodded, tears prickling but determination blazing. "He's my nephew," I whispered. "Family means stepping up even when it hurts." Oliver offered a small, genuine smile, the first one he'd given me since that party, and squeezed my shoulder before disappearing down the corridor. I stepped back into the quiet of the hallway, hands still trembling. My phone buzzed an alert I'd been dreading. FTB lien recorded against Thompson Construction, $60,000. My chest tightened. Dad's business, already staggering, now faced foreclosure. I tucked the phone into my apron pocket and squared my shoulders. There were hospitals to volunteer at, therapy bills to cover, apology letters to finish, and now a family legacy worth saving too. If I could reroute power to save Carter, maybe I could reroute our family's future. But before I could think further, the overhead lights began to flicker, the hum of the HVAC dipping into an uneasy silence. A PA announcement crackled, code black, standby generator failure in progression unit. All non-critical personnel evacuate, emergency protocols in effect. The chill of panic crept up my spine. This was no movie set stunt. Real lives were on the line. I glanced back toward Carter's winged trophy on the gurney and made a decision. I'd follow that hum of failing cables straight to the source. I raced toward the maintenance staircase, past locked doors marked "Authorized Staff Only," prying one open with a borrowed badge. My ears rang with alarms and distant voices. On the landing, the fluorescent tube above me burst, showering sparks. I ducked and stumbled onto the concrete steps, descending into a low-lit sub-basement where the air tasted of coolant and fear. Ahead, the generator room's heavy steel door groaned under its own weight, no doubt overloaded. Inside the backup generator sat dark cables drooping like wounded vines. Control panels glowed with red warning lights and error codes. A single lever marked "Emergency Restart" stood between a hospital full of patients and total blackout. I swallowed past the lump in my throat and grabbed it, muscles screaming under the strain. As I yanked, a spark arced across the console and the lights snapped back on in a blinding surge. The whine of the diesel engine roared to life, drowning out the distant wails of sirens above ground. Relief washed through me until I heard footsteps behind and a sharp voice, "Freeze, LA County Sheriff's Office, step away." 2 deputies lunged through the door, badges flashing. My heart thundered. Had the FTB contrived this? Were they after me here too? I stood with one hand on the generator lever, sweat slicking my palms. Carter's life depended on this machine. One wrong move, and the power would cut again. I turned slowly, fear and defiance clashing in my chest. "You can't shut this down now!" I shouted over the engine's roar. The deputies hesitated, flashlights dancing across their grim faces. "Orders are orders," one growled. "High-risk asset. We have a lien enforcement warrant." The second deputy advanced on the panel. Time slowed. I balanced between obedience and necessity. My gaze flicked to the floor grate where a strand of cable led back toward the hospital's critical care lines. If they cut power here, no one knew these corridors like I did. I had seconds. My mind raced, Model Electric's half-forgotten lessons, Dad's tools, Carter's terrified eyes. I dropped to one knee and thrust my badge at the deputy. "Listen, I'm the volunteer who saved that boy. You let me finish this and I'll turn myself in. But if you cut power, people die." The deputy's jaw clenched. Behind him, the second officer's radio crackled with confusion. The generator's RPM needle inched toward stable green. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then the deputy nodded stiffly, raising a hand to halt his partner. "You heard her," he barked. "Keep your warrant. Don't touch a thing." I exhaled so hard I thought my lungs might collapse. The generator's hum steadied, the red lights faded, and I allowed myself a single shaky smile. But as I rose, the door behind me slammed with a force that rattled steel beams. My breath caught again. I turned to see Grandma B's silhouette in the doorway, ankles crossed beneath her pencil skirt. Arms folded, eyes colder than the basement's concrete walls. In her hand, she held a thick envelope, new will amendments, or eviction papers for the hospital. The generator's diesel roar collided with the deputies' stunned voices. B stepped forward, every bit the iron-willed matriarch. "Kenzie Thompson," she echoed, voice low but resonant. "You've proven yourself, but now you face your final test." The envelope flapped in her grip as she approached the humming machine. "We'll settle this once and for all." My heart pounded as the diesel engine's steady pulse filled the silence between us. Outside, the distant alarms and corridor lights grew brighter, reflecting off B's steel blue eyes. I glanced back at the lever still clutched in my other hand and at her poised, unreadable expression. And in that moment, I realized saving Carter and rerouting my family's fate wasn't enough. There was one last line to cross, and it lay right here beneath the hospital's heartbeat. B extended the envelope toward me, lips curved in that faint, merciless smile. "Are you ready, Kenzie?" My hand hovered between the generator lever and her outstretched will, and everything hung in the balance. Story 2. I never imagined that one rooftop BBQ could upend my entire sense of reality. It was Thanksgiving Eve in Seattle, rain-soaked string lights dripping against the glass railings of Connor's Capitol Hill loft. The air smelling of Coors Light and salt from Puget Sound. I was leaning against the bar, trying to look nonchalant as I sipped my beer when she appeared Madison. She stepped into the halo of fairy lights with the confidence of someone who always owned the room. I'd cracked a joke about animating a dancing avocado for Pixel Forge's holiday trailer, expecting polite nods at best. Instead, she laughed a full-throated cinematic laugh that rang out like church bells. My heart did a double take. I'd spent years chasing the American dream, college tuition debt, late nights at my UW dorm, rendering frames, convincing myself that a motion design degree would buy me freedom. But in that moment, the dream was distilled into her green-eyed smile. I wasn't just flattered, I was spellbound. By midnight, we were talking as if we'd known each other forever. She told me she worked part-time at that new fast fashion boutique on Pine Street and ran a side hustle selling ketone wellness shakes to her sorority sisters. I listened, mesmerized by how she remembered every random detail. I'd mentioned my plan to learn guitar, my irrational fear of hotel shampoo brands, and slipped Post-it notes with doodles onto my coffee mug. When Ranger, my rescue Labrador mix, padded over, Madison knelt beside him, brushing his fur with hesitant fingers. He looked at her head tilted, then sprang back to my side as if to check that I was still there. I laughed it off. "He's just shy," I said. But inside I felt that old pang of doubt. Was I really seeing who she was or the version she wanted me to see? Over the next 2 months, Madison's world began migrating into mine. Her cork yoga mat leaned against my French press. Her Dr. Bronner's collection took over the bathroom shelf, each rainbow-swirled bottle labeled for a different mindful moment. Every morning, I'd find her Good Morning mug beside mine, steam curling off the brim like an invitation. She'd send me voice memos during my all-nighters at Pixel Forge Can't Sleep Without Hearing Your Voice, and I'd replay them when the render deadlines felt like jail sentences. I told myself it was romantic, the real-life version of love bombing they called it on those Reddit threads. But as my friends noticed, I was disappearing. Connor stopped pinging me for poker nights. My mom's weekly FaceTime walks ended with her sighing, "You seem tired, honey." Each concern felt like an accusation that I was choosing someone else over them when all I wanted was to choose Madison. Connor finally cornered me one Friday at work. We were sharing a venti at the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, Midtown's indestructible landmark for caffeine addicts, when he set his cup down hard. "Ethan, look at you. You haven't been to my place in weeks. You're ghosting Mom. You're turning into a hollow version of yourself." He looked exhausted, like he wanted to hug me and shake me at the same time. She laughs at every joke. You're not Dave Chappelle, bro. Something's off. I snapped back. Maybe she just gets me, but his next words echoed. Or she's playing you. He slid a news article across the table about cult-like partnerships and digital gaslighting. I wanted to tell him to drop it, but a seed of doubt took root. That same weekend, Madison invited me to Walmart, yes, Walmart, under the guise of a couple's home gym shopping spree. I followed her through the fluorescent aisles, my heart softening at how she joked about which mirror device we'd mount above our TV, how she nudged me toward the workout shake shelf with that conspiratorial grin. But then she paused by the automotive section, scrolling through her phone. A notification from Tara popped up. Saw you two. Madison's ex, Brad, is apparently married now. Small world. Madison's laughter faltered. Her throat tightened for an instant, and when she looked back at me, her blue-black bangs fell like a curtain hiding her eyes. People change, she said. Voice a fraction too bright. My stomach turned. This was the first real crack in the facade. I didn't say anything as we left Walmart, the rain starting again like an alarm. My mind raced. If she could rewrite Brad's history so effortlessly, what else was she capable of bending to her will? When I got home, I found 30 missed texts. Hey babe, everything okay? Did you see my story? Can we talk about that ex thing? I stared at the messages as the lights of Capitol Hill blinked through my window. My phone buzzed one more time, this time a text from Tara. Just so you know, Brad was the kindest guy. Thought you'd want the truth. I set the phone down without replying. Rain pattered on the roof like a countdown. I lay down beside Ranger, whose warm flank felt more honest than any human I'd met. Madison's Dr. Bronner's lavender scent still lingered in the air, sticky and sweet. My head replayed her laughter, the Walmart aisle, Tara's warning. I closed my eyes, trying to summon the feeling I'd had the night we met, thrilled alive, but instead sank into unease. The American dream had felt so close when I held Madison's hand, but now it felt like slipping through my fingers, a mirage I'd chased in the rain. And as I drifted off, I realized that nothing about our perfect romance would stay perfect for long. By mid-December, I felt like I was walking through molasses. Everything I'd known about my own life was smoothed over by Madison's slow but relentless pressure. It started innocently. She asked if I'd skip poker night because she'd baked gluten-free brownies she really needed me to taste. I agreed because I loved brownies and I loved her, right? Then came the mirrored home gym pitch. Why drive to the Y when we could stream couples TikTok workouts in our living room? I laughed, imagining us matching in sweats, but a nagging voice whispered, since when did I need an audience to work out? My old gym membership card lay buried in a drawer, its magnetic strip never swiped. Connor noticed first. One Tuesday morning, he ambushed me in the kitchen, spoon halfway to his mouth. Ethan, you're running on 2 hours sleep. You look like a panda after an all-nighter. I forced a grin, but he wasn't fooled. I saw you yesterday. Madison was FaceTiming you during your client demo. In front of the CEO. What the hell? The room spun. I'd waved off her concern, as cute, not realizing she'd been broadcasting herself like a studio executive. I dropped my coffee mug shards, scattering. Connor's eyes softened. She's gaslighting you, turning kindness into a noose. That night, I lay awake while rain slapped the window panes. Ranger lay curled at my feet, a furry weight anchoring me. My phone glowed with 3 missed calls from her. Why didn't you answer? I'm scared. Please call me. I texted back. Dinner tomorrow, but the lie tasted bitter. I wondered if Madison saw my hesitation or if she'd anticipated it, already mapping my guilt around her finger. The next day, her concern took on a sharper edge. I was presenting at Pixel Forge's weekly review, standing before David, our CEO, and half a dozen colleagues when my phone buzzed. I ignored it. Then buzz, again buzz, buzz, an unrelenting Morse code of panic. My pulse caught in my throat. I excused myself, heart thudding while my slides blipped dark. David gave me a look I'd never seen from him before, concern edged with reproach. In the hallway, I answered. "Ethan, are you okay?" "You disappeared." Madison's voice tumbled out, tear-soaked and urgent. "I felt like you were avoiding me." I opened my mouth to apologize and realized the absurdity. I was at work, showing off my best project yet, and she'd decided it was a threat. "I'm fine," I said, swallowing. "Can we talk after this?" "Only if you promise you're not hiding anything," she hissed before hanging up. I stared at my reflection in the glass office door, my suit jacket bunched, hair mussed, eyes wide. My dream job was becoming a nightmare. By mid-January, the scrutiny spread into every corner of my life. My mom's weekly FaceTime felt like an interrogation. "Madison mentioned you're canceling Christmas dinner," I stuttered. She said you'd be too stressed." Mom's silence cut deeper than any argument. When I called Connor to vent, Madison's safety check pinged again, disrupting our conversation. I muted the thread and texted back, "Stop texting me at work." My finger trembled. She replied instantly, "I'm only worried. If you loved me, you'd understand." The syllogism twisted my thoughts into knots. Love meant acquiescence, dissent was proof of neglect. Connor tried to drag me back for an intervention. He picked me up in his battered Civic 180,000 miles and still running and steered me to Victor's favorite diner for Eggs Benedict. I stared at the syrup pooling on the plate, unable to taste. "They're flipping you, man," Connor said, leaning across the booth. "This isn't romantic. It's control theater." I looked at him, willing him to be wrong. But my reflection in the diner's chrome toaster caught my eye, hollow-cheeked, haunted. My American dream, a stable career, a girlfriend who got me, had curdled into something I didn't recognize. Then came the Walmart incident, our couple's shopping spree. I'd thought it whimsical when Madison dragged me through the tire section to pick out a new lease for her Jeep Wrangler. She laughed at the PBR decals I joked about. I reached for the mirror device box beside the protein shake aisle. Then her phone chirped a message from Tara, flashing on the Walmart app. "Just so you know, Brad's doing fine. He's married." I watched Madison's eyes stutter like a trailer skipping frames. "Brad was controlling Ethan," she said, voice smooth as engine oil. I deserved better, but Tara's text said otherwise. We left the store in silence, rain drizzling off my car's windshield. I wanted to believe she was hurt, not lying. I drove home, shifting gears as thunder rumbled overhead, each rumble echoing doubt. When I pulled into my apartment complex, my phone lit up with a Delta alert. "Your flight is canceled." I hadn't booked a flight. It was from Madison's account, just making sure you're not planning a trip without me. My heart hit bottom. The tires screeched to a halt. I slammed the door and leaned against it, chest heaving. Ranger patted up his muzzle, wet tail wagging hesitantly as if testing whether I was present. That night, as I lay on the couch, I scrolled through our old text thread, cute memes, sweet morning greetings, video clips of him chasing squirrels. Then came the later texts. "You don't care about me. If you loved me, you'd prove it. Why won't you put me first?" I tapped each bubble, feeling the weight of her words pressing into my skin. The line between affection and imprisonment blurred in the glow of my phone. I realized that love shouldn't feel like an ultimatum. Somewhere around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed again. This time it was David, our CEO. "Ethan, can you come in early tomorrow?" "Something urgent." My chest tightened. Work was no refuge from Madison's shadow. As I stared at the dark screen, a single thought shattered me. I was trapped between the only life I'd built and the person I'd given my heart to. And I didn't know how to break free without losing everything I'd ever wanted. I pushed back and discovered just how far Madison will go when she thinks she's losing control. I woke up one Saturday to an avalanche of notifications, text after text from Madison, each one more urgent. "Why aren't you responding? Are you with her? You promised me." My phone vibrated against the hardwood like a jackhammer. I pressed my thumbprint but couldn't bring myself to look. Ranger nosed my hand, nudging me off the bed. His brown eyes were solemn, as if he knew my world was tilting. Downstairs, Seattle's gray sky pressed against the windows, and I poured 2 coffees, one for me, one for her. I left Madison's mug on the counter, half filled, hoping she'd see it as a peace offering. Instead, I found it smashed in the sink, later ceramic shards glinting under the pendant lights. No note, no apology, just shards. That afternoon, I met Connor at the Pike Place Market. We weaved through crowds of tourists clutching clam chowder and fresh flowers. I told him everything, the missed calls, the broken mug, the way Madison shadowed my every move. He handed me a hot apple cider as if it were an antidote to madness. She's isolating you, man. Its emotional cloaking makes you doubt your own instincts. A street performer belted out an old folk tune about betrayal, and I felt the lyrics cut through my chest. On the ride home in his battered Civic, I tried to argue. She's just worried. He laughed cold. Worried, dude. She's treating you like a hostage. Did she even ask if your mom was okay? Or if you wanted to see Victor for his birthday? I winced. My best friend Victor hadn't gotten a call in weeks. My career at Pixel Forge was thriving, but my personal life was collapsing like a bad indie game glitch. Back at the apartment, Madison was waiting with Ranger's leash in one hand and my phone in the other, face a mask of hurt. "You missed my texts," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm, like a surgeon about to make the first incision. "I needed to know you were safe." I opened my mouth, but words stuck like burrs in my throat. She guided us to the couch, pressing the leash into my hand. "I booked us a couple's spin class on Mirror," she said, tapping her phone. 7 a.m. sharp. I decided it because you said you wanted to spend more time together. I felt anger and guilt wrestle in my chest. I didn't say that, I whispered. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing. "But I know you, Ethan. You said you wanted to work out with me more." Her certainty felt like a trap snapping shut. I tried to escape to duck into my home office, but Madison followed. She breezed past the doorframe and flipped on the ring light we used for her Instagram lives. "I'm going live in 5, she announced. "I want to show my followers how I motivate my partner to stay healthy." My stomach knotted. My every flinch would become public content. I snapped, "This is my project review week. I can't go live at 7 a.m. Her smile dimmed. "If you loved me, you'd make time." She turned to Ranger. "Right, buddy. He knows what real love looks like." Ranger stared at me, and I saw his trust wavering. I felt violated, like a private moment had been hijacked for public performance. That night, I tried to call my mom. Madison hovered, tension coiling in her shoulders. When I said, "Hey, Mom," Madison chimed. "So I hear your mom worries about you being overworked." My mom laughed softly. "Honey, I'm just proud of you." Madison's lips tightened. After I hung up, she crossed her arms. "Your mother should be more supportive of us." I blinked. "Us?" She stepped closer, voice low. "You're still attached to your childhood if you need her validation." Her words struck like a blow I didn't see coming. I spent the rest of the evening on the balcony, rain misting my hair. Connor texted me a news link about Utah's new coercive control laws, a sign that even in America they were starting to call emotional abuse what it was. I stared at the hyperlink, realizing this wasn't about love at all. It was a power play, a slow war. The next morning, I barely noticed the Thanksgiving decorations Madison draped across the living room, leaves and burnt orange fairy lights tangled like prison bars. She burst in while I was packing my laptop bag. "We need to talk before brunch," she said, voice soft but insistent. I set my keys down, heart thudding. "Connor's hosting a Friendsgiving. You'd love it. He's making that apple pie you adore." She paused. "Maybe I don't want to go." My chest tightened. Every suggestion was a test, every preference a potential roadblock. "I said it'd mean a lot if you came." She shook her head. "I have better plans, us." Then came the twist, her lips curved into that familiar smile. "Actually," she said, stepping so close her perfume burned, "it's me or them." The words hit like a bullet. My breath caught. My mind raced friends or her freedom or this gilded cage. I looked into her eyes, emerald pools hiding sharks, and I felt the world tilt on its axis. I didn't answer. The rain tapped the windows like clockwork, counting down the seconds. Madison's expression flickered between hurt and triumph. I realized then that this wasn't just an ultimatum. It was a declaration of ownership. The apartment felt smaller walls closing in. Ranger whimpered at my feet, sensing the storm breaking. Before I could speak, Madison turned on her heel and strode toward the door with Ranger trailing behind. Her coat swirled around her like a judge's robe. "When you decide," she called over her shoulder, voice cold as November air, "let me know." Then she was gone, the door clicking shut with finality. I stood in the silence, the Thanksgiving lights flickering like distant stars. My phone buzzed 2 texts from her. "I hope you choose me. I'll be waiting." My reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar, haunted, exhausted. I realized that every boundary I'd lost had led me to this moment, a choice between the only woman I'd ever loved and everything I'd ever valued about myself. As the rain fell harder and lightning lit the rooftops, I pressed my forehead against the cool glass. I knew that whatever I chose next would change me forever. I confront Madison's ultimatum and discover how far she's really willing to go. I couldn't ignore the ultimatum any longer. By Sunday morning, my phone had blown up 9 missed calls, 20 texts, 2 voicemails from Madison pleading, threatening, begging. I sat at my kitchen island, coffee gone cold, Ranger's head resting on my knee. His soft muzzle felt reassuring, like an anchor in a storm. I dialed Connor. He picked up on the first ring, voice groggy but alarmed. "What's up, man?" "It's now or never," I said. "I can't keep dancing around this." At noon, I met Madison in the lobby of our building. Her hair was pulled into a sleek ponytail, makeup flawless as if she were stepping onto a set. She held Ranger's leash, his tail wagging in confusion. I took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said, voice steadier than I felt. She smiled, an electric, practiced smile. "I'm so glad you called." I motioned toward the courtyard. Rain had finally stopped, puddles reflecting the corrugated metal walls like shattered mirrors. She walked beside me, hand brushing mine, and my skin crawled. "You said it was me or them," I began. "I pick me." Her smile faltered for a heartbeat. "Ethan," she started, but I cut her off. "No. I pick my life, my friends, my family, my work, and that doesn't include being under constant surveillance." She paused, eyes flashing emerald. Ranger whimpered and rubbed against my leg. I bent to scratch behind his ears. Madison's voice turned cold. "You're choosing people who don't understand you." My heart hammered. "No," I said, standing straight. "I'm choosing people who respect me." She stepped closer, voice low. "You'll regret this." I looked at her coat, on the rack silk scarf designer, buttoned down. Everything I'd once thought was charming now looked like props in a poisonous play. I nodded at the small stack of boxes and garbage bags beside the concierge desk. "Let's make this easier." Madison's breath hitched, forehead creasing. She swallowed. "You can't do this. We had plans." I picked up a bag labeled bathroom, its Dr. Bronner's bottles rattling inside. My fingers trembled as I tied it shut. Plans change. Her composure cracked. She reached for the leash. "Take Ranger." My stomach clenched. "He stays," I said softly. Ranger leaned into me, eyes bright. Madison's lips quivered, fury and hurt warring. She snatched the leash and yanked it. Ranger yelped as she jerked him toward the elevator. His paws skidded on the marble floor. I lunged, grabbing his collar. Madison's eyes narrowed. "Let go," she hissed. "Let go," I echoed, stronger this time. Connor burst through the lobby doors, perfect timing, like a deus ex machina, with a leather jacket and worry etched into his face. He froze at the scene, Madison pulling Ranger, me holding on. "Ethan," he called. Madison hissed, "Stay out of this." Connor advanced, blocking her path. "Back off," he said, calm but firm. Madison let go of the leash. Ranger lunged into my arms, tail thumping. She spat, "You're all cowards." Then she stormed into the elevator, slamming it shut before the doors even closed. I sank against the concierge desk bag, still in hand. Connor crouched beside me, eyes soft. "You did it," he said. Ranger licked my cheek, a wet badge of honor. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, relief, sorrow, anger, freedom, all tangled up. Connor stood, offering a hand. "Let's get you home." In the apartment, silence sprawled like spilled ink. The boxes sat in a line dresser kitchen bathroom. My apartment looked empty, echoing with memories. I carried the last box book's photo frames into the foyer. I paused, hand on the doorknob, and looked at Ranger. "You're home," I whispered. He barked once like a seal of approval. That night, I barely slept. The city's lights blurred through the blackout curtains, and my phone glowed with one unread message from Madison. "You think you're free? You'll see." I deleted it without reading. Morning came with a shred of hope. I dressed in jeans and a flannel, the kind of simple gear Ranger and I wore on our morning walks. At Pike Place, the seafood stalls bustled, shucked oysters glinting like pearls, clam chowder steam rising in lazy spirals. I watched Ranger bound after a seagull, lungs filling with salt air. For the first time in months, I felt breath in my lungs again. When I checked my phone, I saw alerts followers I didn't recognize, angry emojis. A new Threads post tagging me. I opened it, a screenshot of Madison's Good Morning mug on my counter captioned, "His apartment is already full of my stuff, he can't live without me." The post had thousands of views, dozens of comments calling me clingy, weird, boo-hoo. My heart skidded to a halt. Connor texted, "We need to talk. ASAP." I tapped back on my way. At Pixel Forge, the lobby felt colder than usual. I stepped in, and the receptionist looked up with sympathy. "Ethan, there's been chatter." I forced a nod. In the elevator, I stared at my reflection, face pale under fluorescent lights, suit scuffed from rushing in. In David's office, I found Connor pacing beside my boss's desk. David's expression was stiff, professional, but worried. "Ethan Madison, your ex posted something online. Clients are asking questions." My chest tightened. "What did she say?" David slid his laptop around. The screen showed Madison's Instagram story, a carefully edited montage of our apartment, my mug, Ranger close-up set to sad piano music. Text overlay. "When he says he loves you, he really means he can't live without you, and he's too scared to be alone." The comments were brutal. "He needs therapy. Men are gaslighters. Hope you're okay." Madison. My vision tunneled. Every billboard in that moment screamed betrayal. I closed my eyes, trying to steady myself. David cleared his throat. "We're losing clients. They think this is authentic." I opened my eyes, horror and resolve warring inside. "It's not true," I said, voice hollow. Ranger's nails clicked on the hardwood. He must have followed me in. He looked up, eyes earnest. I felt a surge of protectiveness. "I'll fix this," I told David. He nodded slowly. "We'll support you, but you need to act fast." I stepped out of the office, Connor falling in beside me. "What's the plan?" he asked. I inhaled Pike Place's briny air, vision sharpening. "We document everything. Screenshots, IP addresses, timestamps. This is defamation, pure and simple." Connor cracked a tight smile. "I'll bring you every post, every DM, then we'll show them the truth." As we walked down 2nd Avenue, the Seattle skyline rising like a fortress, I felt the weight of the fight ahead. Madison's smear campaign had spread faster than wildfire, and the American dream I'd built at Pixel Forge was on the line. But I also felt something I hadn't in months: clarity. That night, I sat at my desk, laptop open, typing defamation lawyer Seattle, blinking at a list of firms. My finger hovered over the top result, Alicia Torres, defamation and cyber harassment attorney. My phone buzzed, a DM from Madison's Instagram account, now private, saying, "You'll be sorry." I looked at Ranger sleeping at my feet and finally nodded. I clicked Alicia's website. "I hire legal firepower, and Madison's next move goes nuclear."